Good day. Welcome to my sessions. I am Professor Emeritus Stephen Adei. Over the last several weeks, we have been dealing with how to create sustainable world. And I've been emphasizing that you don't have to be born rich. You don't have to have connections, political affiliations, and other things to create wealth. There are ways whereby the ordinary guy, through systematic saving and investments, can accumulate enough wealth, even become a millionaire in whatever currency they deal with. Up to now, I've dealt with the side of finding the money to save and invest. And I invite you to always visit my YouTube site, and you will be able to rehearse or revise the things we have said in the past. Then when we came to real investment channels, our first session concentrated on things people think they are investing, but oftentimes it is no investment, such as putting the money under the bed, or except of course you are trading in foreign exchange, but even then under your bed is risky. Secondly, we looked at the fact that putting your money in current account is not something you should contemplate in any way. Neither should you accumulate wealth in savings account whereby you are giving 2, 3, or 4%, especially in our part of the world, when the rate of inflation may be in the double digit, in the 20s, and sometimes even in the 30s. You are actually losing money. Oftentimes, if any of the accounts of the banks is likely to earn you very little, and inflation will eat it up. Even when people think that they are investing through savings account, insurance with profit accounts, they don't realize that much of their contribution, which they think is investment, goes just purely to buy them insurance. And therefore, I advise that people separate their investment decisions from their insurance so that they can monitor how much their investment is yielding. So we talked about other ways, all the ways that people think they are investing, but they are not. On the positive side, we looked at various forms of investments, even in your own bank. If you have short-term money call account for more than 1 month, you are likely to get more than leaving it in your current or savings account. And time deposits, or CDs as they call it somewhere else, instead of leaving your money for a long time and yet letting you go to the bank and say, I have this amount of money. Normally should be not 10 CDs, 20 CDs, 100, but a little bit substantial one. I want to keep it here for 3 months, 6 months, and negotiate for a rate which is often twice, even 3 times that of the savings account. So it's important for you to look at, of course, for your short-term emergency funds, you may use your credit union, but credit unions are not meant for long-term investments. It's for you to be able to borrow in the short term, meet your needs as a cash flow management also. So these are the lower level of investments, and we recommended that if you have a short-term placements, that may be recommended. Even then, oftentimes, corporate bonds and government bonds, despite the fact that our hands have been bent by the domestic debt exchange program, it is a short-term phenomena. The government will come back to the market, and oftentimes the government will give you very good rate. And over Ghana's 67, 68 years, there has been one default. You can't trust it. And we say that when the river drowns your child, you don't stop drinking. The quarter or the bottom line is the treasury bills, because 3 months treasury bills, you get about 15% even at this reduced rate. 6 months, 180 day or 365 day ones. Normally, if you have 3 months to 6 months and 1 year, you better find your way to the treasury bills. However, our second session on where to place your investment, we focused on mutual funds. And we gave you the reasons why mutual funds should be part of your portfolio, because it's easy to enter, easy to leave with a small amount. But if you do it for a long time, you are likely to accumulate fortunes with small investments and allowing it to compound over the years. Again, even there, you have a lot of variety and choice, so that you can, if you are risk averse, you can go in for the fixed income or money income end, or you can go for a balanced fund which will invest in fixed income like treasury bills and bonds, and also part of it in stock. And you can go to the stream, whereby in Ghana, the data bank EPAC is the only pure stock mutual funds, and it has performed consistently, excellently over the years. But once you go in for the pure stock market mutual funds, you are now actually investing in businesses. And except that you are doing it through the fund managers, which is a good one. They are professional managers. They can choose and pick better than you on most cases, unless you are a professional broker. And therefore, it is recommended as your first entry point. I entered the stock market January, the investment platform, through EPAC, and for 10 years, actually 9 years when I was rector of Gimpa, I invested 130,000 cedis and ended up with 10 times in 9 years. You can't get it anywhere. However, today I want to move into you yourself making an effort, of course, even with brokers, but making investment decisions. And I would like to split them. The first one is going to invest in businesses without taking on management responsibilities. And then our next session, we will look at the typical entrepreneurship, setting up your own business, be it small scale, medium scale, partnership, or large scale. The reason why I like today's topic is that you can start today. And there are many options that you can do. Every now and then, people don't know that you can go to institutions like SAS or Data Bank, and there are people who have investment ideas, but they are looking to raise private capital. And therefore, you can be an instrument of investing in those businesses. Of course, I've already mentioned the first one is going to the stock market through the mutual funds. But you can also go to the stock market on your own. You can buy MTN shares by yourself, fund milk shares, often through your broker, because they know how the process is. You don't have the forms filling them and other things. So you can do so. So you can go to the stock market directly through your broker, in addition, or other than going through the stock or shares which you can purchase as part of collective investment. That's the mutual funds that invest in stock markets. I must say that one must, however, be very careful if you are not an expert, to go outside the mutual funds that invest in the stock market and directly buy shares, because not all that glitters is gold. Many people rushed and invested in Anglo Gold, or Ashanti Gold then as it was called, and their fingers were burnt totally, have gotten practically nothing from it. So you have to be very careful. But people who invested in MTN, Charlie, are enjoying good returns. Again, my family members, some of them invested in EcoBank, Ghana. It has been a very good investment. In fact, my wife invested in EcoBank, Ghana, and has been enjoying year after year dividend. I rather invested in EcoBank International and got practically nothing. Eventually, I sold my shares for a peanut. So direct investment on companies must be something you may consider, but I will not advise the unexperienced person to do so, because you can get your finger bent and you cannot easily predict the successful ones from the unsuccessful ones, except that over time, when MTN, EcoBank, and others, if somebody is selling their shares on the stock market, your broker can let you buy it. But people are sitting on the good ones, and they are not selling it. So I'm hoping that those companies will issue fresh shares and people could buy into them. Therefore, it's an investment opportunity. Another is that people have not considered it. There are areas like the rural banks where you call it on-the-counter investments. You go there and with 100 Ghana cedis, 200, you can buy shares directly and invest in those rural banks. But remember, when you buy shares in companies that are not listed on the stock market, you cannot go and sell it on the stock market. If you want to get your money back, you must find somebody who wants to buy it and then sell it to them. So I have found investing in rural banks one of the wonderful ones, but there are 146 rural banks, and I can tell you about 2/3 of them are toxic. You will get nothing out of it. You must be in a position to be able to read their balance sheets, able to see their prospects, and then predict what will come out of it. And again, it is not the area of the unconverted. Some of them, like Fiasimayan and Fimayan, have proven track records. Also, companies like Amansia West and Achoma Kwamoma. So there are some of the stars, Joabin Rural Bank and the rest. But you must be very careful and you must understand and be able to read the prudential figures, that means the indicators that shows that a company is doing well, their profit track record, their balance sheet, whether they own loans and all of them. And again, but if you are capable of going there, you can be a very successful one, especially if you have a little money in their tens or in their hundreds of thousands. There are also what I call private equity funds. In other words, private companies. And one of the things Ghanaians are not taking advantage of is that often people who have business ideas and people who have the money are not the same. And this is where private equity comes in, whereby those with ideas will then use their sweat capital and their knowledge to own shares, and they can approach 2 or 3 people whose basic interest is financial gain. Then you say, look, with my experience, my ideas, I take 40%, you financiers take 60%, or whatever seems appropriate. I've seen many people die with their ideas, hoping to make a kill for themselves, and they are able to they die poor, not able to realize their full potential. I believe that private equity, with arranging it, can be very, very profitable, and they can come in various forms. We have angel investors who invest in startups and early stages of companies, often by using what we call angel investing platforms or network without direct management involvement. It's one of the areas that I personally am trying to encourage, because it's amazing how some young unemployed with ideas with 10,000 cedis can turn their ideas into a multi-million company. And they don't have the 10,000. I'm willing to give such people with good proposals, and many people there are, the 10,000 and take just a quarter of the company. It will be a risk if they don't succeed. Hey, you lose 10,000. But if they succeed, they become the next Microsoft company. You know that if you are 25%, you have also hit what the bull. Again, increasingly, there's what we call crowdfunding, where individual ideas are put there through a platform of people who are investment savvy, and they said that, look, this person has a million CD project, and people can bring crowdfunding. That means that people can bring, I can put in 1,000 here, I can put in 10,000, I can do that one. And they pull the money and invest, and when they get profit, they share it amongst them. So again, what I'm saying is this: there are many ways in which you can invest in businesses without you directly becoming involved in it. If they succeed, you have passive source of income. You can invest in many of them, so your investment is diversified. In some cases, once you do it on the crowdfunding or through stock, mutual funds, you have professional management, and in some cases, you are able to pull out if you are no longer interested. However, in economics, we say that, buyer beware. In other words, every investment goes with some risk, and you must be able to investigate the risk that goes with it. Of course, if you have 5,000 to attempt it on a young graduate, it's not something you sit down to go to risk assessment. If it succeeds, okay. If it doesn't, hakuna matata, no worries. But as you go into more and more higher level of investment with others in partnership, you must be able to evaluate the potential risk vis-a-vis the returns you are going to get. I personally think that anyone who comes to you and says that he's giving you the Ponzi type 200% per month, 50, anyone who promises you more than twice the treasury bills rate is a suspect, and you must be careful about it. Again, you must be able to do due diligence. What's the track record of the one in whose company you are going to invest? And don't take them just on their words and, we are in the church together, we are good brothers and sisters. It is the question of their ability to manage the business and their integrity so that you can get what you put in there. Of course, you must always look at your investment goals. In some cases, like crowdfunding and others, they charge you a fee for what you invest in. Be very careful, because fees are always a dent into your investment. So when you are looking at the return, you should look at also the fees you are going to pay. The last area I would like to talk about, because next time we meet, we are going to you actually setting up a business, whether small scale, medium, or large scale, is investing in real estate. Again, I'm not talking about you setting up a real estate company. It becomes the entrepreneurship, which we'll be looking at. But you can invest in real estate without necessarily being a manager of a company of real estate. And this is my aim today, investing in companies without having management responsibility. And here, let me talk about what we call the real estate trust funds. Here in Ghana, one of the well-known one is run by the Republic Bank. It used to be the Housing Finance Corporation, and then later on it became Bank for Housing, and was taken over by, I think, a Trinidadian company, Trinidad and Tobago company, and renamed it the Republic Bank. Real estate investment trusts are actually like mutual funds. They collect money from many people and they invest in the real estate sector. They invest in real estate properties through what we call REITs, real estate investment trusts. So it's like mutual funds, except that their focus of investment has to do with real estate, lands, buildings, and the rest, which allows individuals to own a portion of a property without direct management responsibilities. If you feel that you want to go to the real estate market and you cannot build your houses by yourself and sell them, the REIT is your channel. And relatively, they have performed also very well. So these are some of the avenues. I was the other day talking to my grandchildren's school proprietor, and I realized just a very nice school in Accra. And basically, he had about 2 friends in Britain who invested the money so that they are partners. And he is managing it in Ghana and doing well, at least from how much they are charging my grandchildren. So these are the avenues which, and it is there for every sector, education at all levels, the real estate, small scale manufacturing, and what have you. And I believe that oftentimes the returns there can be very substantial and sustainable. But once you go into business, there's always a risk of failure. And don't say that, I put my money there, therefore you haven't paid me anything for 3 months. One of the areas that I dab into is rural banks. And because of the domestic debt exchange, and I must say before the Bank of Ghana introduced the need to change the directors and also a profile for competent directors and managers, many of them were poorly managed. But I believed that they had potential, and a few of them, I invest there. Of course, I can serve on the board of only one of them at a time, but I'm free to advise for free once I put my investment there to advise the managers, and the returns in good days have been quite substantial. Next week, we will look at you starting your own business as an entrepreneur. I wish you the best, and please join me again. It is possible in Ghana to make it, even to become a millionaire from where you are. Please listen to me on ZFM 101.9 always, and don't forget that you can at any time visit the YouTube of Emeritus Professor Stephen Adei. Shalom and have a good day.